We're going to open the meeting.
All right. Recording.
Okay, thank you. Town of Winchester Zoning Board of Appeals meets tonight in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, 40B, and other applicable laws. There is a sign-in sheet at the entrance. We ask you to please sign in. WinCam is not going to be televising this live, but they are recording the hearing. In attendance tonight, we have zoning board members, myself, Dorothy Simboli, David Feigenbaum, Mark Anderson, Harut Kazarian, Andrew Clavette, and Lauren Jonick. Winchester Legal Counsel, Eddie Singer will be joining us, hopefully. Oh, I'm sorry. We have a separate space for you. Thank you. Welcome. Tom Ashton will be recording the meeting also and producing the meeting minutes. The applicant is Brian Melanson of Melanson Development Group, who is being represented by attorney Mark Vaughn. Is Attorney Vaughn here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't see you over there.
He's sitting at his seat.
The applicant's proposed project is located at the corner of Washington and Swanton Street, specifically 278 and 297 Washington Street, 12 and 16 through 20 Swanton Street. Mr. Melanson has applied for a comprehensive permit under Chapter 40B for the mixed-use development of 60 rental units with ground floor commercial space. Tonight we will give updates on peer review, accept any new correspondence, take up public comment, and tend to some clerical business. We have some meeting minutes to review and accept in scheduling our next meeting. If town officials are present, they will be given an opportunity to speak and ask questions. As a reminder to anyone addressing the board, you must please give your name and address for the record. In consideration of time, I may limit the length of all remarks. We will begin by accepting the meeting minutes. I have one more other courtesy request. If anyone is by all not feeling well, or if you've been exposed to somebody with the flu, we have some masks up there. So moving on, do I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes from December 10th, 2025?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Hi, Mark Anderson.
I, Dorothy Simboli.
Hi, David Feigenbaum.
Okay. Harut,
Yes,
are you rehabilitated?
I am.
Because John Hancock is on it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Can we go back for just a moment?
Yeah.
So I gave some comments. They're terribly minor on the minutes. When we approve the minutes, are we approving it with my comments, or how do we?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we need to know.
They were not of great significance, but I think the approval should be subject to that.
Okay, let's do a new motion. Motion to accept the December 10th, December 10th, 2025 meeting minutes as commented and amended by David Feigenbaum.
So moved.
All in favor?
Hi, Mark Anderson.
I, Dorothy Simboli.
I, David
We didn't
Feigenbaum.
have a second. I seconded it. Okay. Continuing petition 40B-Z25, 40B-1. Comprehensive permit application for 278, 292 Washington Street, 1216 to -20 Swanton Street. We don't have to read in all the correspondence, but Mark, if you'd like to do your task.
If we don't have to, I'll save everyone the Micro Machines voice, but if you want me to, I can.
I would suggest that we rely on the list that was put together and proposed to us and make it a public record.
Okay, that's fine.
I move to accept the correspondence as annotated on these January 14th, 2026 meeting motion sheet.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi, Mark Anderson.
I, Dorothy Simboli.
I, David Feigenbaum.
Okay. Moving on, I'd like some updates. Is there anybody from traffic transportation here?
Yeah, we do, yes. It's not the, right.
Might as well take your seat.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. For the record, attorney Mark Vaughn with the law firm of Riemer Bronstein, representing the petitioner tonight. Pleased to be before you. So on the subject of traffic, we do have our traffic engineer here. Different face from whom you've seen before. Scott Thornton was not available, but we have a representative of Vanasse here. So I know that there was communication from Tool that came in, and there was a follow-up response that was submitted to that, to the board. And if there's questions on that, I'm sure that we can speak to it, but just to kind of set the stage on that. But certainly if there's another question or comment relative to traffic, we do have a representative here, so.
Okay, great. I don't specifically have any questions. The only comment I would make is I think we're at a point where everything's been now submitted to the engineering department, and engineering, I haven't heard back if they will be available at the end of this month. I mean, if they're going to have all their answers back before the meeting that we kind of talked about at the end of this month.
Sure.
So we would possibly push that back into February.
Yeah, and I did communicate with Carla on that, anticipating that might be a likelihood. So we don't have an issue working with the board to extend the timeline for the board to close the hearing. In fact, I did bring a letter to that effect, which I could give to the board this evening. But I think that I'm jumping around a little bit, but obviously the civil engineering review is ongoing as well. We do have Rich O'Connell here from R.J. O'Connell. I know that he's been in close communication with VHB, and they weren't prepared to kind of respond this evening. But anyway, so on the traffic though, certainly if the town engineer needs some time to look at the response and get back, that's fine.
Okay. The only reason I sort of am opening it up is just if anybody has a comment with regard to traffic transportation from the board.
I didn't know.
Okay, because I think we'll just sort of have to table that conversation until a date to be determined, hopefully in February, but we can talk about that at the end of the meeting in terms of what dates we'd be scheduling. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Good question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the public this is definitely a topic that the public might be interested in, traffic on Swanton Street and Washington Street. So if we defer public comment until the very end, their comment may not be taken account of. And if we get comment now, it might be.
Well, if we get comment, though, they could have already been addressed, or it will potentially be addressed by the traffic engineer. So I just
It's up to you.
hypothetically.
I'd also say we've had several, I don't want to take away from further public comment, we should have that, but we've had several comments that are already inclusive of traffic concerns, so
Yeah, I
they're
mean,
already part of the
certainly
record from
we'll-
the prior.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, we will open it up for public comment later
Yep.
on, so they can bring that up. But in terms of like substantively looking at traffic, transportation, I think we should, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about when the February date is, and we're not going to push it off to the very end, by the way. Okay.
You're looking at me.
Yeah, well, because you didn't want to wait for it to be at the very end. We're not going to let it go
Good.
to the
Excellent.
to the extension date.
Good.
Okay. Okay, moving on. Design peer review update. This is, I think, what we're all going to be really talking about tonight. We have Dennis Carlone.
Please. Maybe Michelle wants to come forward as well. Yes, please.
Just so that the public knows, this board requested a more detailed rendering of the facade on Swanton Street, including three-dimensional renderings of the units. So that is what I believe has been prepared for us today, and we're looking forward to seeing it.
Madam Chair, yes. Michelle Littlefield with Q3 Architecture. Michael Radner from High Point Engineering is here as well. We had another meeting with Dennis towards the end of last week to show him a preview of what you're seeing today, which are some refinements in response to the last CBA meeting where we heard some of your comments, as well as a working session with Dennis to hear some of his comments. So we have a few slides here. Feel free to interrupt with questions if you'd like, but we were going to start with Michael on the landscape design.
Good evening, everybody. We have a new plan here, which looks very much like the old plan with some changes, and if it's okay with you, I'll just focus on the edits rather than going through a whole presentation. So some of these changes are in response to Mr. Carlone's review, and some of them were also as a result of our meeting with the tree committee a few weeks ago, so it's kind of an amalgam of responses to these changes. So I'm going to use the cursor here, and I'm just going to sort of start at the northwest or top left corner of the site and kind of work my way around clockwise, just talk about some of these changes. One of the comments was that at the driveways, and this is the loading driveway and this is the entrance to the garage, that we carry the concrete sidewalk through rather than having asphalt going through here. So we've made that change. It also happens down here at the this is Washington Street on the right and Swan Street on the top. So we've carried the concrete sidewalk through there. It comes, there's a little bit of a rise as you come off of that to prioritize the pedestrian movement rather than cars. We have added hard to see on this, but there is a metal picket fence, 6-foot metal picket fence around the transformers. Of course, the location of these transformers is where we would like them right now. Sometimes the electric company will come in and say, no, we want them over here, or shift a little bit. So, but that's the intent. And that fence, I have a picture of it in the next slide, is an open metal picket fence. Pickets 4 inches on center, black pickets. So it's an attractive fence that you can see through and still have visual access in and out. The landscape bed along the north side, along Swanton Street, we had we've added some planting here. There was some grass strip along this edge, and basically we've taken the grass out and we're putting plantings all along here. It's more of a lush condition, I think, there, and less grass means less maintenance. So less watering, less fertilizer. So we think it's a good solution there. We have added a brick strip along the back of the curb along Swanton Street. Originally, we just had it on Washington Street, so now that decorative brick accent strip runs basically around the whole public face of the property. Working our way around here, and as Michelle gets into the discussion of the architecture, if you recall, the arcade was here, and now that's gone away, and the face of the building has come out more towards Washington Street, and the entrances into the building, there's an entrance to the commercial space here and one here, and our landscape beds are basically responding to those locations of those doors. We have fairly wide entries into these spaces, pretty generous and welcoming. These are curved planters that wrap around the front here. These little brown strips here are benches that just sort of adorn either side of the entrance here. I'm going to make sure I get to hit all my points. We talked about the sidewalk. This is relatively the same. There's a couple of steps up because this Washington Street pitches from north to south. So the building is revealed as you come down Washington Street, so there's a little bit of a grade change here. So that's, as you recall, the entrance to the residential space here. So you come up a couple of steps. The accessible entrance is a walkway that comes up in this space here and into the door. As I mentioned, the sidewalk carries through here. As a response to the tree committee, we've added some trees along the south side of the parking lot to help shade the asphalt here, and also one here to help shade the courtyard. Everything around the sort of southwest and west side is pretty much the same. I think this loading area got a little bit longer due to some architectural treatments along here, but as the function is basically the same, the circulation is the same. I'm going to go to the next, unless you want to.
Other trees.
Yep, I'm getting to that.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a couple of questions. On the south side, at the left of the parking lot, there's a light green area. That's
Right.
grass?
Lawn. Yep.
Lawn.
That was as before, too, right?
Right.
Yeah, that really hasn't changed.
And my other question is, what's the distance between the trunks of the trees running along Swanton Street and the green border? How much, in other words, that's where pedestrians are going to walk. How much space do they have between the trees?
So these,
8 feet?
so the total from back of curb to face of planter is 9.5 feet, minus the 4-foot width of the tree pit, so it's 5.5.
feet. Okay. Thank you.
So I'm going to just go to the next slide. These were images that you've seen before. The only thing that we've added is that metal picket fence that's around the transformer, so that's what that
Is that
looks
steel?
like.
Is it going to rust?
Steel or aluminum.
That's probably right.
Yeah.
It wouldn't rust. Because
Yeah,
because
if
gonna look
we do
bad.
steel, it's a powder coated process which prevents the rust. So, yeah. The other thing I did want to point out briefly was this little section right here, and if I just go back one slide, there we go. We cut a section through this area here because this driveway, this new parking area is higher, the grade is higher than the existing grade here, and we've added a low retaining wall and a guardrail there just because we want to we need to keep water from shedding onto our neighbor's property, so we've created a little swale here. It's a minor detail, but I did want to just point that out, that we've added that feature to the plan. Doesn't change the landscaping at all. It's still a planted area. More of a stormwater treatment. And I'll go to the courtyard plan. Whoops.
Sorry, could you go back a second? How tall is the wall?
The
Yeah,
wall
your
is
hand
12
is touching the wall. How tall?
12 to 18 inches.
Okay.
Yeah, low.
Low.
It's a
Not much of-
landscape
not much of a
wall. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just to keep the grade so we don't have a steep slope coming down here. It'll be much more easy to maintain. I'm just going to zoom in real quick to the courtyard. This is a little bit different configuration. It's to distribute these trees and planters a little bit more, provides a little bit better shade condition for the patio here. We've kind of simplified the whole thing. It's basically the same amount of pavers that we had before. We have the barbecue grill here, so you can see basically this like movable seating around here, and then these green areas here, which provide a buffer to these 4 private patios that are off of these units here.
That's artificial turf. Is
That is
No,
that'll be
that's still
live
yeah.
green real
Live
vegetation.
green turf.
Yeah, not turf. There'll be plantings. It'll
Actual
be
plants.
Oh, I'm sorry. plant.
perennials, grasses.
Got
Yeah,
it.
There's no turf now.
no turf.
Good.
And you had asked, we talked about providing a rendering of, this is not an exact rendering of this space. This is a previous project that we've done, actually worked on this with Brian over in Wakefield, but gives you the feel of the space. It's kind of the same scale that we're looking at, and you can see the treatment of, how we do trees and planters and so forth. Gives you an idea of the furnishings there. This is actually built when we were out in the fall, and there was no furniture out there yet because this is a new project, but this gives you an idea of the materials that we use for these planters. These are aluminum, it's a lightweight planter type arrangement, and you can see that these fences here provide privacy to the private patios. So that is a pretty good representation of what that space is going to look like. This one is up in the air. We're not up in the air. That is the end of the landscape presentation.
Do you want questions for Michael before I go into the architecture?
Is there a planting schedule in terms of like,
I think it was on the first page.
first page?
There is not yet. It's conceptual plan at this point.
Okay. Will you be providing a planting schedule?
So your regulations require a concept plan, so we haven't done that yet. I can certainly, I think we want to kind of crystallize the plan before we start assigning plantings to that. So the architecture has a ways to go, I think. So
The caliber and the height of those trees, like, I mean, well, I guess eventually.
we can add that. Yeah, I think we're almost set on what the trees are. All of the little plantings like the beds, we typically don't do
Yeah.
that until the end of our design process.
I was
But
just thinking,
we can commit to the tree types, the tree
yeah, like
species.
how tall, like what's the maturity?
Yeah,
rate?
so like for the large circles that you see along Swanton Street and then the large circles you see on the bottom, those are going to, they'll go in, and so those are shade trees, it's kind of like maple, elm tree things, if you can picture that. So they would go in at like a 3 to 3.5 inch caliper, which translates to maybe a 16-foot height. But then there's, at maturity, they can get 40 feet tall, so.
Right.
Yeah, and the trees on the right that are in front of the retail space are smaller, more ornamental, so picture like a dogwood, something like that.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
actually thinking, is it going to actually like intrude on the sort of entrance space?
We're trying to find the right secret special sauce for the right plant there, and we haven't settled on that yet, because it is kind of tight to the building, and it's also in a tight space along the street, so we haven't quite
We
settled.
kind of want that to be inviting space.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
I have a question about the green space next to the parking area there. I know there was some discussion about it. I heard it on the recording from last week when I wasn't here. But how do you envision that? I mean, it's nice to have the green space, of course, and it looks attractive. But, might that not be better served adding 3 or 4 parking spaces and still being able to keep that tree and the other plantings around the side versus a lawn that's a story down, doesn't really have is there an exit for residents to be able to access that space directly? I don't think so, right? So it's kind of just a space off to the side there.
Yeah, so this, there'll be a little gate here, come out and come
Okay.
down a few steps. It's really this is only about 3 feet higher than this.
Okay.
It's not up.
So it's
not
meant
up
to
at
be
the
an
second
extension of the
level. Yeah.
patio
Yeah,
there.
yeah. As to this discussion of the number of parking spaces, I think that's a bigger discussion than just landscape, so.
Yeah, I mean, do you need that space to satisfy some sort of green space goals or something like that you have for the project?
We are
or-
trying to add as much green space as we can, yeah. And it is planned that there will be circulation around the building, so we're not in favor of pavement.
It changes your stormwater design.
We factored in, we got a buffer in there, but it's not really the intent. It's nice to have some green space.
Yeah. How big is that green space?
It is probably 50 by 50.
Okay.
It's especially nice for the abutter.
We had discussed last time that was a good option for anyone looking for grass when we were talking about AstroTurf on the courtyards for children for play space.
There's been comments about dogs, right? So that'll help with that.
Yeah,
It's a place for-
it's an open green area, which we don't always get to have on,
Yep.
we'll call this a semi-urban site, because we're often pressed for space and, parking demands and so forth. So I get the question a lot when we do these types of projects, like where do the kids go? And we often don't have the space. Here we have the space, so.
Well, I think it makes a lot more sense to me knowing that it's 3 or 5 feet or whatever below the
Yeah.
patio. I thought it was a story down. It said that
I think
that's
the,
going
one
to
of
end
the
up
first
being
iterations
nothing
had it
there.
higher, if I remember, way back.
The old
like the
building,
original, yeah.
the other building, before the project changed, it was up a floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is more connected. Yeah.
Is it level with the parking area?
2 to 3 feet up. is what he
2
said.
to 3 feet
No.
up?
No,
The-
The grass?
No, yes, there's a curb here. It's just a 6-inch curb, so yes, it's at the same elevation.
I suppose it's a moment for another discussion, but the neighbors are concerned, and I guess anybody would be concerned about whether there's enough parking to prevent constant lines of cars parked along Washington Street.
Well,
What's the thought on that?
we have a traffic engineer.
Okay. We'll hear later about that. Please.
What did you say the curb is between the parking and the green space?
6-inch tall curb, typical curb. Yeah.
So you will give us some sort of additional planting information? Like,
Yes.
It doesn't have to be a specific schedule, but, or maybe you can give us alternate, options on what you're, not that, like, ideas, I guess.
We will come back with proposed tree species
Perfect. Awesome. And sizes.
and sizes, yes.
I have a question about the metal fence. So that's right along Swanton Street.
Right.
So how tall is that fence, and I guess what's the security in terms of, because that's where the transformers are, right?
Yeah, so that'll be 6 feet tall, and it'll be locked because only NSTAR or Eversource would want to get in there, so it needs to be secure.
It's too bad.
And there's no way to provide any
Too bad.
additional screening or buffering so that it's not like an attractive nuisance or anything?
The requirements for setback for vegetation is pretty strict. The utility doesn't let you get within a certain number of feet. I don't have it offhand, but I can tell you that we wouldn't be able to put anything in front.
But in terms of visual screening, there's nothing more that we can do to visually screen it?
I think you could put like a full block fence, but then you block your view coming out of the driveway, right? So you got.
Yeah, I think the idea was to kind of make it transparent so that you're not creating
The car coming
a
out,
hazard
come
for
all the
somebody
way to
coming
the
out.
sidewalk to be able to see.
Yeah.
I'm just asking
Yeah, no,
questions.
yeah.
Just asking.
The metal picket fence will also go nicely with the balcony railings that's on the building, so it will feel cohesive.
Thank you for pointing that out.
And I assume those need to be on like a public way. You can't put it in the back of the building or something like that, even if you physically could get the power to it.
Access is key
Yeah.
Yeah.
for the utility.
Yep.
Are we Eversource in this town or NSTAR?
I pay
Eversource. I want to say that right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they want to be able to pull up with their truck
Jump
right
out.
on the street and be able to
You
access
can't. Yeah,
it.
you can't put it in the back corner or something.
No.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Better.
Yeah, it's
better.
it's
Good
yeah.
work.
Which I'm sure you talk about this part of the architecture, but the lobby switched, right? It used to.
The lobby- The lobby did not switch.
Oh, I thought it was okay. Or maybe I'm thinking back to one of the other ones.
The original had the residential entrance
Yeah.
at the corner
Oh,
and the
that's right.
commercial
Yeah.
across the front. The last time, the September and the December plans
That's right, yeah.
looked very similar. So, Michelle at Q3 again. So we met with Dennis and we took the letter that he wrote, all of the comments we heard from you, and sort of boiled them down into sort of our holistic design takeaways to reconsider the building in its entirety and not piece by piece. So we wanted to look at refining the human scale of the building through answering your questions about detail, but also adding some more detail and character and depth and color. We wanted to improve the overall image of the building through a richer color palette, which you all talked about as sort of this new project on Washington Street. We wanted to enrich the Swanton Street elevation, its scale, proportion, texture, silhouette, concerns about the length of that elevation and its continuity. And we wanted to also enhance the visibility of the commercial on Washington Street. So what we have for you is a series of three-dimensional images in this presentation. I hope that they start to meet your request for additional views. If there's more requested, we can provide more. So for context, This is the previous rendering. This is not what we're proposing. So this was a photorealistic rendering that we created to give the building more light, more depth, more nuance to the sky and the activity, the trees, everything around the building. For this exercise, we've gone back to just what is basically our working architectural model. So this is basically that same design, but in the rough, raw sort of model view, just to give you the context. This is that old design. It just looks a little bit different. So in this same model context, this is the updated proposed design. So in the back here, we have the old rendering printed on a board and sort of the new view of that, similar view of that corner. And what we've updated. So what you start to see here is, first and foremost, that arcade at this ground floor has been pulled out to be flush with the building above. It increases the visibility. The glazing is more visible. Any activity in this space is going to be more visible to anybody sitting at the stoplight looking around, anybody walking by, including people working in this space or visiting this space and looking out. So it will be a more attractive space. We maintained the overall composition of the project, maintained the residential entry at this far end and the commercial primary entry at this end as well. One of the feedback comments we heard was to bring a darker color and more brick to the building. So we studied a couple different options and we decided as a team to sort of redevelop these gable ends as completely brick on Washington Street. We have a few more views to show you how that feels kind of from both directions. And we feel like it grounds the building pretty successfully and adds that richness and character that is really Winchester Center and is really bringing you downtown. With the brick, we've reconfigured the window openings in these towers to be more symmetrical, more aligned, and create a little bit of a proportion and scale in those window elements. The base, I'll call it the base of the building in this sort of putty tone, is mostly unchanged, but we did go through and add refinement to the parapet edge and how that's treated where the building meets the sky around the perimeter of the building. Looked a little bit closer at how these towers sort of intersect with that putty portion of the building. And we also looked at the detailing of the windows themselves. So previously, all of the windows were rendered as sort of a black frame. And so we revised the windows in this putty portion of the building to be a white frame, more traditional. It'll bring that human scale to every part of the project. We did maintain a darker frame in the brick portions of the buildings and in the bays, which we'll see a little bit more in a second. And we took a look at the detail on these storefront windows as well, at the retail. So we've looked at a more refined articulation of the mullions in this storefront system, a more refined look at how that future window sill detail can be, we can bring in some of the historic limestone coloring there, and thinking about how that gets brought around the corner and creates a consistent scale at that human level. Both of these ends have a little bit of a projecting canopy. The glass is recessed from the face of the brick, so there's a little bit of natural protection in that recess, but also a little bit of a projecting canopy to sort of guide the eye as someone's coming down the street, and that's on both of these ends.
What's the material that faces the street on the
edge of it?
Yep.
That is unknown at this time. It could be a metal panel would be the most feasible in this shape. And given the projection, it's probably got a steel backup to it that holds it up here. And so looking a little bit at the detailing of these windows, how they're organized with row lock and soldier course headers, and tying those things together.
So this is a detail, but my eye always sees this. The lintels are odd because they have no support. They look visually like they're supported with glass. Could you do something about that?
We can definitely study it. Yeah, that's definitely a more modern detail.
I know, but you know what I'm saying.
I do.
Visually, it looks funny.
Sure. We're happy to study that.
Even if it projected, an inch and a half on either end.
I'll study that.
Please? Thank you.
Sure. And so this is a more complete view. We're starting to see down Swanton Street. So The organization of Swanton Street has changed a little bit. Previously, we had 3 bays sort of breaking up the length of this facade. We've added a 3rd bay, which is this short bay that's kind of over that commercial internal space. And this helps to break down the length of the facade, but it also increases the visual appeal of the facade. And part of that is because it creates a more predictable rhythm. So we have a length of wall A, we have a pair of bays, we have a length of wall B, we have a pair of bays, and then we have this length of wall at the end, which is hard to see in the perspective, but it's similar to that proportion of A. So the building becomes a little bit more predictable, a little bit more rhythmic as we're moving down. And you can start to, the bays are obviously different color. So previously we were proposing that they be a consistent sort of tone-on-tone putty, but in the board and batten style. So we studied a few different options of color schemes, which we have a little bit more on that in the end. We sort of landed on this sort of gray-green tone, not a rich green or a forest green, but sort of a gray-green that brings the richness of some of the older slate in town into sort of these bays. And then along the end of the wall here where the building sorts of appears to grow as the grade pulls away, that top floor at this end becomes a board and batten treatment, but in the putty color that sort of correlates to the facade. Below?
The facade material that's putty is shingle? Or what is?
So it's the same as previously proposed. So this is a lap siding or a clapboard siding, and then both the gray-green here and it's a slightly lighter, sort of like an oyster in the back, would be a board and batten style panel and board and batten.
Is there a reason that first bay can't go all the way down to the street?
Sure. So we studied that. We studied these along the length. Sorry. The reason that we stopped this one here is for a continuity of that commercial space and a continuity of what we're treating as the proportion and the scale of that. This bay here, it gets precariously close to the ground for us in terms of the spacing. If we brought this down to the ground, that essentially what is a balcony would be in front of the commercial space, which would be a little bit of an awkward correlation to have a potential future tenant with a balcony with a resident right above it. So from a streetscape perspective, this provides more consistency of the program that's behind the building, which is sort of why we landed this here. Related, as we pulled the arcade out to the front of the street, we're not proposing on increasing the size of the commercial space. So where that wall was located internally before has come forward towards the wall as well to maintain the proposed commercial square footage at 3,800 square feet. So this bay has gotten a little bit closer to Washington Street to follow that line. But we did play with the proportion of how this brick is, how much there is, how long it goes down the wall.
And are the roofs of the bays pitched or are they flat?
These are flat. These are parapet conditions. These are taller than they were previously to create more of a visual interest along the length. In the board on the window there, they were less dramatic. They were only about a foot taller than the sort of continuous parapet. Here they're
But any appearance that they're going like this is just a trick of the eye on the...
Well, it's a trick that these bays are also, we can see it in another view. They're actually angled in floor plan, which you could see on the landscape plan. If I go back a second. So the edge you're seeing here projects a foot and a half, and this foot projects 3 feet. I'm rounding numbers here. I don't remember the exact dimensions. So that creates an additional silhouette interest along the street. We'll see it better from the other direction.
Are there windows on the side that faces down Washington Street?
There is not. We have a view of that.
It's not wide enough, I suppose.
It could be. It would be tricky. The proportion of the wall gets a little bit smaller. So this next series of images, so this is that same sort of corner view. What we've done is sort of plopped this into a Google Street View version. So what you're seeing are existing blobby trees and blobby houses. And it helps us check our decisions and check our choices to make sure they fit. This one doesn't provide a huge amount of interest, but sort of this in the foreground is that house that you're seeing in the old rendering there of the gable across the street. Here we are standing on Washington Street looking north, so you're seeing the residential entry in the foreground here and the commercial entry sort of in the background. And so for us, what's always been sort of a key element of these two gables is the two homes directly across the street, and sort of creating and mimicking the rhythm that exists on the street with this bigger project.
Can you show the view coming up Swanton Street towards Washington again?
Swanton up Washington. I have
In other words, the north
Coming down
facade.
Park.
this the north side. So what I have is
Imagine I'm coming up Swanton Street towards Washington and the building is on my right.
From the transfer station.
you haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah, we
It's
haven't showed it
this.
yet, yeah.
It's this. So this is you're on Swanton Street, looking east towards Washington Street. Up Swanton Street. The light's up here.
It seems like the most troublesome view.
Right, so here you can start to see that this bay is a little bit wider on this side than the other side.
Right.
Not quite wide enough for a window. But you see that board and batten treatment at the top floor here, wrapping the corner. The Juliet balconies that wrap this sort of, I apologize, I'm not sure why this is, I think it's the way the Google Earth is plugged in. This is sort of cutting through the garage door not appropriately.
Very small cars.
Very small cars, and so that's not actually the ground treatment, but the face of wall here is about 12 feet, so we can fix that for the elevations have it drawn properly, but this 3D image does not. So we see those views from this side of the project at sort of a different angle. It gives it a little bit of a different perspective. One detail that you can see in this image that you couldn't see in the other images is a little bit of a play on proportion and scale. The top floor windows and the second floor windows are the same height. Our first floor windows are taller to take into consideration the fact that that floor is taller to accommodate the commercial space. So we're creating a taller ceiling height at this first floor and modifying the windows to go with it, which is sort of a classic detail in traditional buildings. We've also added some additional detailing at the base where this brick is sort of modulating in and out. You can see it better here, the relief of the garage door, to create texture, to create shadow lines, and give a little bit more human scale to that brick as well.
Is there a reason that the bays are, like you say, one side projects more than the other instead of just being parallel to the facade of the building?
The original concept with that was really trying to get the silhouette of the roof line to be more dynamic as you move down the street. We could study them as square to the building. I think we were, from this angle, really trying to sort of give that perception of what could be a traditional sloped roof, but isn't quite a sloped roof, and bring some traditional elements to what is a modern construction.
It's actually a flat roof, right?
It is a flat roof.
Yeah.
So I, for one, like the base flat. I think that's more traditional of a base.
I agree with that.
And I also don't really love the first bay. I think it should either go all the way down to the street, which might mean you have to change the windows in the commercial area, or I think it would look nice without it, because I think the rest of them look nice. And I think it's a nice improvement from the previous base.
But isn't her point right that if you take that first one away, then the
large
inset
expanse, yeah.
parts of the facade are going to look a little
I
awkward.
think it looks like you have two buildings, which is how, they used to build buildings and then continue on building down the block. I think that, that you don't, it would look like the building with the two gables, and then it would look like the building with the bays. I also think, I know I heard, on the last meeting recording about adding more brick. I wasn't bothered by the sort of tone on tone over there. And I think the brick I love brick, but when you see new brick buildings, they don't look like old brick buildings. So I think it comes down to what kind of brick you're able to get. Whether it's going to look, institutional, but not in a good way.
This bay, we don't have a view of it today. This bay language of 2 stories over the brick exists on sort of the parking side over here as well. So we introduced it here because it already existed, and we weren't trying to create something new, but I hear your concern that now that these are green, they're sort of reading foreign to you. So
Well, just that one. That one looks incomplete.
So then what do you do on the other side?
I think for the other side, I know we can't look at it. I
Doesn't
don't have a
matter, but
picture
I
of
can
it.
imagine.
The length of that wall proportionally with the 2 stories of the putty over the 1 story of brick starts to feel large without the
Oh,
bay.
I see, okay.
Nobody will look at it as being odd, the
Yeah.
one on the.
On the other
parking lot
side. Yeah, not too many people are gonna see it in any case.
I don't think anyone's gonna, I mean,
I like
initially I had a concern because I thought it kind of looked like it was floating there, but I think once the trees are built in and are kind of providing the screening, I think it'll be fine.
What do you think, Lauren?
I like the 2-story bay. I think that if the massing stayed exactly the same and that bay just went away and those balconies were just sort of treated in the same style as the one right there on the corner, I think that piece would become like visually exhausting. And honestly, I think it would make the massing look more odd as you walked down it. I think that 2-story bay is really creating a nice visual balance in that facade. I think it helps to make it successful. I understand that the asymmetry is giving you pause.
I don't think it's asymmetry. I think it's not balanced right in that spot for me. I think it's the opposite of balance. And I think when that thing would actually be built, if you were to walk along Swanton Street and look at the joinery of the brick, the clapboard, and the sort of faux verdigris panels, I don't think that's, as well as someone might execute that, it's going to look strange.
So Haru, what are you saying? Take that all away so that it's just this white.
Just the first bay.
Right, and it's just this putty tone.
Yeah, so you have a building on the corner, and then you have sort of this other building with the bays and the garage door, and dealing with the grade, because the initial
So this
that
is
chunk
drawing.
doesn't have a grade problem. Yeah.
It goes back to the way it
So
looked
it's the
there.
way it
Yeah,
looked
I
on
got
that.
you. I don't know, David, you were talking about the most troubling view there on the other side, where it was kind of
Coming up.
It was all that putty tone, and it looked like it to me. It looked like it needed to be broken up. I think this is a nice feature that it breaks that up, because I think it's a little monotonous if that whole thing is that putty tone. I like it when it breaks it
I'm
up.
okay with that. I
It's
just
got
thought
different angles.
it looked a little bit aggressive coming up Swanton Street, because all you see is these
That corner.
unwindowed
Yeah.
edges of these
Yeah.
things. But, nothing can be perfect. So,
I think it's still broken up with the three. If you leave 3 bays and you take one away, I mean, how wide is a bay? 20 feet? Not even, probably. Yeah.
If we go with your concept of the 2 buildings, I would end, I'm not an architect, so Lauren, you can tell me it's an awful idea, but
Every idea is, it is what it is.
I would end the first building with another brick tower,
Oh, yeah.
and then end it that way, and then add the rest.
so then it looks
But then
like
you have a
one
brick.
building in
You
front of
have a
another.
brick tower right next to a bay.
Right.
With
Well, they
different
can reconfigure the bays on the second building.
Maybe not, though.
To
It's
make
2
it-
buildings, but
Yeah.
To make it look fluid.
Interesting idea.
I think it works.
I think it works.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
As it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think hearing the feedback we gave last time of looking at the picture on the left there and having a block of,
They listened to it.
Putty. Right, we've got some differentiation, we've got some different higher pitches, more activity. The brick, I think before it wasn't articulated like it is now, so you're playing with that space to make it feel more active.
Well, it's way better, but remember I'll repeat what I said last time, which is every citizen of Winchester is going to be looking at this building 3 times a day. coming down Washington Street. So the effort put in to try and make that facade
Yeah.
perfect is worth it.
Yeah.
I think the front is quite good now.
Yeah,
That's
I do too.
great.
Like the window
Terrific.
placement, yeah.
I'm still a little,
What about the arched,
I'm okay with
the
that.
arches? Anyone have any comments on those?
That's not my favorite detail. I would like to see differentiation between the public and the private entrance is kind of my only comment there, because you don't know, the hierarchy on those two is the same right now, and I think there should be a distinct difference between what is public and what is for the residents. But that can that's a finesse move. That's not like a remassing or anything.
I was more thinking, and maybe it's just the material that it would be made out of, that we were trying to bring a little bit of like classic downtown red brick Winchester into this equation, and that makes it look very contemporary to me. But maybe it's just the material of the curve.
Oh, the arch
Of the
is
arch.
too contemporary.
I agree with you.
I kind of agree. I think
And
it
so
could
I
be
don't-
that. I think that detail could be more traditional, and
Yes.
it would.
It
and
would
that
really
be
improve,
okay.
it would make a big
But maybe
difference.
it's just the material it's made of.
I think it's the curve.
I think it would be.
If there was like a brick arch going across and brick.
I'm not sure that we could get that kind of projection that they want to create the brick.
I'm just throwing it out there.
But like that's like a detail study that I think we're close though.
It's that arch is very contemporary. It really is. And the buildings in the center of town are not, they
I
don't
think-
reflect that at the first floor
I
level.
think Mr.
Dennis,
Carlone
yeah,
wants to
let's
say
see, I'm gonna say
something.
Jump in.
Arches go back to the Romans, number one. They didn't have
I
aluminum.
like that.
Oh, they had flat arches.
Not so much, but go ahead.
And I think the arch is fine. I think it's elegant. Your question about the aluminum or whatever that material is, it'll be metal. I understand. I had suggested a canopy at the residential entry coming out like you see on Fifth Avenue in New York, to say residential. And we didn't talk about this because what I did is relate to the issues that I heard here and that we had raised in the meeting. But it's possible, you can see that Michelle's team has pushed the glass back at both arches. It's possible that in the commercial arch, it goes back in line with the windows on either side, which I think is further back, or even further back than that. So they're treated differently in depth, plus a canopy, which in a way this is over the residential one that comes out to the steps.
I like the idea of differentiating the two.
And maybe it's even canvas or modern day version of that. That's,
Which entrance do we want to be more prominent?
I think they're different. I think that's the goal, is to make them subtly different. That one reads more residential and the other reads more commercial. The signage will make a big difference, whatever that is.
Right, I was going to say, or people could just read
Yeah.
period.
I
And say
like
this
the
is
fact that they both look the same, but I think these are design elements that reasonable folks are going to disagree on. But
Yeah, and these are like
Yeah.
it's nitpicky. Like the overall, like just the massing and the treatment,
Right.
everything.
To me, everything
to
else in the building on that
is
facade
looking
looks
good.
similar, and then all of a sudden you got two different awnings. I don't know. But again, that's
I agree with you there.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe it's the font on the word signage that's coming.
it's very. It looks like Amazon.
Yeah.
I'm putting it on shopping at this sign.
It looks like Amazon.
Like an Amazon thing, and it's just like
Well, that's an elegant sign. You might not get that in the long run
That's true.
when the commercial person comes in.
We have the DRC will help us with that. So
I don't know.
Is the metal roof materials sort of a different color than you had before? Is it meant to be black? Yeah.
it looks olive. Is that right?
It's meant to be a bronzy brown. It looks funny a little bit on this screen versus over there. Screens definitely play tricks on our eyes.
Okay.
And it's in shade.
And it's in shade in this side, yes. You asked for larger views and more detail. You had actually asked for renderings of the units, but when we were discussing it, I thought what I heard was that you wanted to understand the depth of the details and understanding that there's planning materials. So what we did is we zoomed way in, so you can see sort of this is one of the windows as proposed in the lap siding material. And this is an example construction document level detail of what that could look like. So the interior of the building is on this side, the exterior is on this side, and this is sort of the plane of glass here, that triple pane window that we're gonna have. And so the face of the lap siding, I'm just gonna zoom into this top one, the face of the lap siding is gonna be where it is based on the constructability of this wall assembly, and then this projected alternate painted sort of header detail will be a built-up level of trim elements to create an amount of depth between the trim itself, the facing material, as well as the frame of the window and back to the glass of the window. And on the header, we have sort of a taller element, and on the sill we have sort of a shorter element to give those two details a little bit differentiated proportion and scale.
Because I think they did a good job of showing you.
Is that close enough detail for you,
Is
David?
that close enough for you?
Everything is
Zoom
good.
in even
No, everything is good. I like it, except I still think that the lintel at the top
Michelle, to make it larger.
needs to project
Project farther.
You mean past the sides
past
of
the
the windows?
window, so it doesn't look like you've got a big piece of granite about to drop on a piece of glass.
Oh, so like
Don't worry, it's
You
not
want
going to
some
be
wider.
granite.
Yeah.
wider.
A couple of inches on either, or an inch and I don't know, just something so that it doesn't look like a big piece of granite
We can study
sitting on it. You know what I'm saying?
that. I do.
Yeah.
We can study that.
Yeah. Other than that, I think it's great. I appreciate all the change you made.
Additionally, we threw an example of the brick detailing as well. So what we're proposing here is a roll-off sill where we turn those bricks on their sides. They project slightly. They have a more stacked brick look at the sill there. And this detail actually isn't perfectly represented here. I couldn't find one close enough, but this is sort of a soldier course header where these bricks rotated on their sides would also likely project slightly. And that soldier course brick is the height of 3 traditional bricks there. So it would be, again, slightly taller than the sill itself.
It's actually shown, it's shown with 4. It's as tall as 4 courses. Look to the right, look at to the right end of it.
In this image?
Yeah, count 'em.
You're correct. We could
So-
also, so what we
I
probably
don't,
do
I
here-
think it's fine the way it is, I'm just,
I don't think we'll
And
condition
I'm
it on
just-
the number of bricks.
I'm thinking that if we do a Norman style brick, which is I think what we did at the band, is a 12-inch brick, which would be closer to 4 tall.
that's fine.
Yep. That's good.
Except there again, I think it should project a little bit. You know?
Okay. We can study that.
Otherwise,
Is that just for the uneducated folks in the room, is that like a modern versus traditional look, depending on how wide those are, or is that just?
It is.
Okay.
No, it's an expressive of human scale treatment around the window, expressing traditional approach, but it's not, that's not how it would look in a traditional building.
Wider, you mean? Or this look?
It could be on an angle, coming in. There's lots of different ways, so it's a more current way of trying to get that character of a major element in the wall of an old brick wall, but doing it in a simple, straightforward way.
Yeah, and I think what I'm saying is give a little bit more to the tradition,
Disturbs.
to the traditional, just a bit. I think, my view, it would look better.
We also showed a little bit zoomed in what that parapet edge detail might look like. So if we zoom in actually really close over here, you can see that this sort of double band is coming in and out a little bit fast past the face of the material. And here we would do the same thing, of sort of building up those layers of trim element as we do trims. And then this band detail that we saw honestly a little bit better in some of the other images, is there's a play of depth here below this soldier course. These sort of bricks are projecting a little bit here, and we're not in construction level details yet, so there's a couple ways we could study doing this around the perimeter of the building. One would be similar to some of the windows with a roll lock, or a soldier course transitioning from the panel above to the brick below, or something again that's more current would be to take the siding treatment above, create a trim band from that, and sort of cap the difference that way. I think both of those could work well along the project. And so we also studied, and this is sort of, coming at the end, but this was the previous color palette as proposed, sort of the tone-on-tone putty range with what we had was the burgundy brick. And so this is sort of our research behind the scenes on the historic palette of Winchester, as well as the neighborhood. And this is sort of where we landed the first time around, was staying really in that putty zone and also staying with that burgundy brick. And so what we've done is we branched out. So we obviously added that slate, that gray-green, which goes into a little bit of a green and a little bit of a slate, which ties to some of the more downtown slate roofs of the existing buildings. And we went to a more traditional mixed brick with some visible flashing, some color variation between the bricks themselves, and an off-white mortar. And obviously playing off some of our neighboring homes, which are those neutral colors. So that sort of calls out here the brick, the sort of slightly modified colors here on the putty, and the sort of beige, the gray-green, and again here the bronze brown for the standing seam brick. And so those are the updates we have for today. We didn't go into the whole building yet. Wanted to get the feedback from the board.
I think it's much better.
Yeah, it's really.
Okay. I'm glad you like it.
It's nice. Could you zoom in on where that first bay meets the brick and the...
So we definitely played with where this hits that band, and to your comment and to my comment about this not being fully resolved yet, we would really study how these trim elements and these bands come together to refine that.
Any other questions? No, I think we gave you guys feedback of what I think we wanted you to try to do, and I think you did a great job on it.
Yeah.
That's good.
You too.
Seems like a lot of work.
Great. Yeah.
Wonderful. Better.
Any additional comments?
My report will be very simple. We made a list together, actually, things that you cited and that I cited, and Michelle and her team and the developer addressed every one of those issues. Now, what I wanted to hear was your reaction to it, which was generally positive. And, maybe as an architect, I might have done things differently, just like Lauren, but they addressed it and even went beyond that. I talked about the windows going white. I didn't think of a mixture of black and white to, again, try to break the scale down where the brick portion that has black windows and the projecting bay. The notion of the greenish gray bays, they added one which I do think makes sense because of the rhythm that Michelle called out. Instead of three sort of randomly located bays, now, yes, one of the bays is different, one of the projection bays is shorter. It's a grouping, and so it's a stronger rhythm, kind of representing three-story houses across the street. Granted, they're not three-story, but I think that's an improvement. The brick base has been improved. I had suggested the two brick residential blocks. The brick wouldn't go up all the way, only 4 feet or so, they went beyond that. I think that works beautifully. At least the drawings I saw did not have the balcony railings on it, and as you can see, they had a whole nother element. I know I guess they've always been in the first rendering, but in the elevations I saw, they weren't, and it just pops. There's more richness to it. And this didn't come up in our design review, but the sable green is the color of my house, which I selected 30 years ago, so I obviously think that's a good addition. And in all honesty, I was pleasantly impressed that there was a reaction to everything that was said here. And that's not always the case, even downtown, on a project that hopefully will get built, that I help with. So I think you're in good hands. I think the landscape has been excellent as well. The lawn, to me, is essential for the numerous reasons cited. But just to have an option of a lawn, if you have a young kid or somebody who wants to just put a blanket down and have a picnic back there, to have that option is fairly unique in apartment buildings. And it's nicely shielded. So that and the courtyard work well together. So all in all, I can't give them an A+, because that would set a standard. I give them a good A.
Next time, maybe.
They worked on everything.
So you've got our comments. And,
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah. Right.
Okay. Thank you for all of that. Stormwater, we're not doing today. That's the next item on the list.
There will be stormwater.
There will.
There will be There's one thing I can say definitively.
There will be stormwater. Rich O'Connell with RJ O'Connell Associates, Montville Ave.
There's stormwater.
Oh, yeah, well, I was going to be here. VHP couldn't make it, no.
Okay.
We only got our response to comments back to them last week. Holidays, sicknesses, and everything. Everybody knows what's going on. So we've been talking back and forth. Erin just didn't feel that they were far enough along to come in here and do anything substantive. So that's kind of where we are. We're going to do some more work next week, and I know we're bringing this out a little bit. So next time we come in, hopefully we're all set.
Yep, and
That's
we'll
the
talk
idea.
about, when we get to the dates, we'll talk about dates and
Yeah.
availability and all of that.
Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. I just want to make sure, going back to Dennis Carlone, you got the most up-to-date waiver request? Okay.
Yes, I did, and it's all reasonable. As you can see in the drawings, everything directly relates to what they're presenting. And given a 30B, it's very reasonable.
Okay.
40B, excuse me.
40B. I know what you
30,
meant.
40.
I knew what you meant. Housing Partnership Board had a request for more information regarding contamination issues and parking. Is somebody from Housing Partnership Board here? Mr. Serber. Sure.
My name is John Serbia. I'm chair of the Housing Partnership Board. We submitted comments on January 7th, a kind of update of earlier comments that we had submitted in June. So the two major things that we looked at were the revised design and then the additional information that's available on the income restricted or affordable units. So we continue to like the design. We like the revised design better than the original design. And so we think that this building will, in addition to providing housing benefits that are very significant, will kind of restore the economic and social vitality that was here before they became vacant stores and empty lots. Just to comment on the affordable housing, 4 of the 16 affordable units will be affordable at the 60% of the Boston area median income. This is more than is normally required under Chapter 40B. We congratulate the developer and the select board for reaching that agreement. I mean, I think that's a significant step.
Can I just make a point of clarification on that? I actually think it's 3 units that are at 60%. Yeah, it was originally 2, and we were asked to add another one.
Okay.
But yeah.
There are probably some other factual errors in all of this. Chapter 40B requires that the affordable units be proportionally distributed by number of bedrooms, by floor area size, the location within the building. The distribution that was proposed on October 11th is acceptable to the Housing Partnership Board. We think it also will be acceptable to the Massachusetts Housing Partnership. Mark, is that correct as the financing agency?
Yes, it would be. Yes.
On that. We had 2 additional recommendations that we made. And again, my numbers may be a little bit off. There's a total of 87 residential parking spaces will be provided for the 64 residential units in there. There's been discussion of whether the cost for those parking spaces should be bundled into the rent or unbundled from the rent. The Housing Partnership Board recommendation is kind of a hybrid, which I think is close to what VHB recommended, that 1 parking space would be part of the rent for each unit. If a second parking space is desired by a tenant, then this additional space can be rented on a first-come, first-served basis. With the rental price, and this is a crucial point, the rental price for this additional space by the occupants of the income-restricted units should be prorated in the same manner as their unit rents are prorated between the affordable and market rate units. So it's just providing consistency on that. I must have said something wrong.
No. I didn't want to keep getting up and just staring over your shoulder there, but that is the intention, to the extent that I can address that, Madam Chair, is that each unit would have 1 parking space, and then the remaining spaces would be rented out on a kind of first-come, first-served basis.
And at a cost that's prorated?
Correct.
The same manner, okay. And the second recommendation is really consistent with the detail that you've been talking about tonight. Let's get even more detailed. In terms of the income-restricted units, in the manner in which they'll be marketed and sold, we're recommending that a member of the development team or the developer, a representative of the developer team, work with the town to maximize the number of those units that can be given on a local preference to people who either live or work in Winchester. And so to do that, we need to put together an application. We need a justification. They can, up to 70% of the units, or 11, can be have a local preference. And then a state representative will review that, either accept it, they may reject it entirely. More likely, they may accept 50 or 60% rather than 70%. But I mean, again, that's one of the things that we felt was important to make sure that Winchester residents and people who work in Winchester have kind of a priority in having the opportunity to live here. So those are the two recommendations that we made.
On local preference, do you need to specify whether or not the 3 units that are at 60% of the median income are
Yeah, that's-
included in the local preference?
Do you have any experience with that, Michael?
I'm not sure on that. Certainly check with Jen.
Yeah, I mean, the state will rule and control on the 80% units. So I'm not sure they even have a say on the 60% units, but they may. And the way the Housing Partnership Board approaches this is to essentially treat the 80 and 60% units identically in terms of policy and
So we don't identify which units are given local
No,
preference,
no.
it's just,
Is the-
we want up to, we ideally like 11 units to be for local preference.
yeah.
How does that,
How is this within our purview? What would you point to in the statute or the regulations that say this?
Oh,
Has
the
anything
local
to say
purview
about
is
that?
covered in the state guidelines of how this is administered. And what we wanted to do is just raise the issue and say at some point, assuming this is approved, and those units will then be marketed. There's something called, and I think it's still called that, an affirmative fair housing marketing plan, which is just how they're advertised. There's a website called the Housing Navigator where the availability of these units can be made. So what the state doesn't want, this is kind of the opposite of
So
local
are you
preference.
saying that we have statutory or regulatory
Yeah.
stated authority? What section of our?
It's as a town.
Not as the town. I mean,
no.
we're an element of the town.
Okay,
but
okay.
We're not
This
the
would
whole
be
town.
covered in
Michael
the,
has
in the
some
Chapter
authority.
40B regulations and in the regulations. I know it's covered in the regulations for what's called the Local Initiative Program, and those are going to carry over. That we did this for both of the sanctuary units.
I'm not saying that the town
We can
doesn't
ask
have
town
the
council.
authority, but I want that to be.
Well, let's
worked
ask
out.
town council that question.
Good.
Town council can give us the feedback
no,
on how
no,
that
that-
plays into our authority.
That was, I mean, what we're recommending is similar or identical to what was done on both of the sanctuary units, that there's information that the town has access to that can go into this application and request. The request itself was submitted by essentially the developer.
So
They had a marketing group working with the developer.
I guess my question would be to Attorney Vaughn, are you aware of this? Was
Yeah,
this
no.
already on your radar? And
Yeah, and I think that we're willing to work towards that local preference as long as it comports with what the state requirements are. I think there's issues there about just not being discriminatory, or, if for some reason there's not enough local qualifiers for the units, then we, don't sit there with an empty unit.
Yeah.
Right? So, but I think that we're certainly familiar with the concept of having local preference, but it would just be obviously subject to the state allowing it at the percentage that they feel is appropriate for the project.
Yeah, and the units, the occupants, if there's more applicants than number of units,
It'd be a lottery.
there's a
system.
lottery.
Yeah.
And the rules for that lottery, I won't even try to explain them.
no, it's okay. I
they're
just
very
want to
complex and very subtle in it,
understand the
but it works.
procedure for how we apply for local preference, as long as the developer is on board with what Mr. Surbear has proposed, trying to go up to 70%. I mean, I just want confirmation from you that that's.
Yeah, I don't think that we have an issue with that, and something that we've talked to our consultant about as well. So, but we're not the ultimate decision maker on it. It does need to be blessed by the state agency as well.
As long as we're all in agreement on it, that's.
Yeah.
Anybody have any comments on that? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for the update. I'm not sure if anybody's here. Director of Public Health had questions regarding the trash and contamination. Are you aware of this? Did you see this memo dated June 9th?
Yes, I am familiar with that. I don't think that we have, there was a request for information on trash and recycling, storage and collection We're happy to get that information to Jennifer Murphy. But I think that we've gone over that as part of the presentation before, just in terms of where trash and recycling would be, but we can certainly follow up with her directly.
Okay, that would be great. That's just outstanding. We have a memo from the planning board with regard to design review. Has everyone seen that? Mm-hmm. Have you seen the memo from the planning board on design review?
Yeah, I think I did, yeah. I've seen two different memos from them. One early on where they urged the Board of Appeals to engage a design consultant. And then the second one was one more recent where I believe the planning board indicated that they might not have been aware of the design change and seemed to express a preference for the original design over the revised design. But if I'm paraphrasing correctly.
Yeah, so I'm just going to make a general comment on this, and if anybody else wants to make a comment on it, they can. You know, we all know that Carla is meticulous in terms of updating the file and including all the information on this. It looks like the planning board was not aware of the most recent design that we had going in September, and they just came to look at it last week. So it's created a lot of questions. Hopefully people are listening to this meeting and have heard the updated proposal from the architectural team, and it's resolved some questions that they've had. The one question that they had outstanding, and I'm not sure how you guys address this in the LDA or with the select board, but it says they encourage retail uses for the commercial space over office space to better serve the needs of the building tenants and immediate neighborhood. Have we discussed that in here?
I think we did a little bit, and I know at least from my standpoint, I was of the opinion that I don't want to hamstring them about what they can and cannot do, because that will change depending on the future, right? So I'd rather leave it open, but that was my 2 cents on that comment.
I can comment on it. I mean,
Yeah, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, so I think that what we've, and Brian, feel free to jump in if I'm misstating and mischaracterizing it, but we're not trying to say, gee, we're not going to do retail or restaurant. It's going to be commercial office or, you know, dentist or whatnot. It's that, you know, we feel like it very well may, if there's demand for one over the other, we'll be responsive to it, but we're not sure that there's going to be enough retail demand to warrant it all being, you know, retail or restaurant space. I think you're open to whoever's going to pay you the rent will go in there and make a viable use of it. So,
What is it? Are you considering more than how much? Are you going to put one tenant in for the whole space, or are you going to divide it up?
I think it's likely to be divided, Ron. Yeah.
Again, it is.
Yes.
Could be 2 tenants, could be 3 tenants, could be 1 tenant, could be retail, could be office. Preferably, would like to see retail also. Well, I mean, I think it enhances the building if it's retail, or the whole neighborhood if it's retail. Of course, retail is gonna, parking could be a little bit of an issue, but retail, I think, is gonna be a little bit more vibrant, coming and going. But we don't know. We don't know. Maybe there'll be 2,000 square feet of retail, or maybe there'll be 1,800 square feet of office. But if there's some retail, all the better. We would like to see that also.
Okay, is the building being, like, are you contemplating possibly a restaurant in there or a cafe?
Not a restaurant. I don't think a restaurant.
That's what I say, restaurant, more like maybe coffee
Like a
shop
coffee
as part of
shop.
a convenience store or something like that, yeah, but not a sit-down restaurant.
I'd like to see some retail, not necessarily a restaurant.
We concur with that.
I'd like to not see a dry cleaners.
No.
I'd like to not see a dry cleaner as well.
I don't know where to get my nails done.
But I think-
There could be a nail salon.
Or a nail salon.
But if there's some
Or ice
sort of
cream.
commercial, it'll animate
Ice cream
that
or nail
neighborhood a
salon.
little bit. And
How about a Realtor office, right?
Yeah.
Are there any of those in town?
Is a restaurant out of the question though, in terms of,
I don't know if it's out of the question, but I think you need a lot of parking for a restaurant.
parking and however the exhaust system would work in that?
So yeah, they're probably going to do their math and realize they can't get enough people in to make it viable, right?
Yeah,
So
I just don't see how a restaurant would work.
But even with like a coffee shop, like do they, maybe this isn't the time or place for it, but do they need some sort of like ventilation or?
If they were making their donuts,
if they're cooking
yeah.
stuff, yeah.
Right.
If it was more a variety type of coffee that you brought in the bagels, brought in the donuts, and you served the coffee there, that would be fine. And newspaper and whatever.
Was like that something like structurally that?
I think you guys, that they just solve for that within the current ceiling heights and all that type stuff to make sure they can run what they need.
Well, this is an issue for me anyway, because I think that neighborhood needs some animation that can be provided by the building that you provide, and I'm sure you're thinking that too.
Yes.
But when we both walk away from the table without some sort of a commitment or some condition, it makes it
Well,
dicey.
we don't want to say you have to be retail because it could sit for.
Then we end up with empty storefronts because no one does the math.
That
Yeah.
doesn't help anybody.
We're committed to it being commercial, which has always been the requirement. How that commercial is ultimately, I
How do you
don't.
define that?
Well, I mean, it's defined by office, retail, coffee shop, those types of uses. So, I mean, that's,
This needs discussion. In my opinion, will need further discussion.
I think it needs further discussion.
I think, doesn't the agreement with the town say it has to be commercial? And that's
Says it
it?
has to be commercial.
But
So
the
non-residential.
Commercial.
The
What's that?
Mr. Vaughn submits that a dentist office would be commercial.
It is, of
Professional
course,
offices.
absolutely it is. Anything that's not residential would be,
Problematic for this site.
So I don't necessarily find it problematic, I just think we need to discuss it. And, I have definite views on things that I would not want to see there. Like, I don't think anything that creates a lot of fumes or smells, like a nail salon, a hair salon in a residential building, I don't care what kind of ventilation you have, I think it's an issue. That's why I said no dry cleaner. But, I think we need to discuss what kind of, seriously, let's say they could get Starbucks in there. I'm not saying they could, but let's just say you could get Starbucks in there. We all know what Starbucks looks like in downtown Winchester. Do we really want to create that on this corner with people double parking, pulling up to run to get their coffee to go and then going on their way? It's just, we know that this is a dicey site traffic-wise.
So how would you propose that we?
I don't know, that's why I'm saying we need more.
We need more discussion in some way to.
Well, so let's be clear.
To impose something
Do we need
on
more information from the developer and the proponents of stuff on the record, or is this just something we're going to talk about in deliberations? Because
I think I would love to.
I don't know what
I'm
else we asked them
voicing
to
my
prepare
concerns,
for us.
And I would love to see the developer come back with, here's a list of
Me too.
the tenants that, here's a list of potential uses.
We don't want it empty, you don't want it empty, but we
Correct.
also don't,
Yeah, we
personally,
just-
I don't want a dentist office.
yeah, but David,
We want something that's going to animate
the space is 2 years from delivery.
say again?
The space is 2 years from delivery, and it's not pre-leased. If it was, he would have
Right.
told you. So
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
what it is that you could possibly achieve or make someone commit to today. He's already saying he
You could make it a
wants
condition
retail.
of the permit.
So I'm going to come down on the side of I don't want to condition too much because again, none of us know what the future holds, and the more we hamstring, we're stuck with, oh my God, we can't fit someone in because the demand isn't there for that, and we have an empty space
We can
again.
relieve that,
So-
if that's the problem.
yeah, we just can't be hamstrung in terms of you can't,
We
rent
only
to
want a coffee shop.
doctor. You can't, it's difficult. And I would,
You won't get my support
Well, I mean, I don't know what to tell you, David. I mean, the existing zoning, if you look at what was there, I mean, it was a whole range of types of uses there that the underlying zoning does allow, some of which are by right. So it's not like we're bringing something here potentially that would be dissimilar to what was there in the past. And I think it's also something that folks, you know, would have urged us to try to provide them. You know, so we just need to be responsive to where the market demand and interest is, and it's going to be hard enough to build this building as it is in terms of making it, you know, everything pencil out in today's, you know, reality. So I just think if you put additional hurdles on us in terms of not being able to lease to so and so or such and such, it's problematic.
Is there going to be an AUL on this site?
Any what?
AUL, activity use limitation?
We don't have I'd have to run that by our environmental consultant. I don't think so though, but do you know?
I think there may be in some.
Like
So if there is, that already restricts certain things, like you can't have a daycare,
childcare, right.
things like that.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not catching the word you're using.
Activity use limitation. It's a yeah, correct.
And so that comes in and says you can't, to your point, do childcare or
Certain
something
things,
that's,
yeah.
for some reason we don't want there.
So there is an activity use limitation?
We don't know for sure. There could be something because of, you know, it's a
Prior environmental.
environmental site that needs to be
Right,
cleaned.
oh, got it. Right. Okay, so there's going to be certain limitations.
It's just going to take more discussion, I think.
Well,
Well, yeah.
I
So
mean,
again,
it is what it is. I mean, we can have all the discussions.
Yeah, that's right.
There's got to be a cleanup, and then the state we have to report to the state, the DEP, that it's clean, that there's monitoring of the site, and they'll say, you have to report to us every 6 months for 2 years to make sure there's no fumes traveling. It is what it is.
Yeah, my point was, anybody's going to have to do that who tries to develop the site. It's just a matter, I'm saying there might already be restrictions beyond any restrictions you might be contemplating. So it's like you're narrowing the possibility of what kind of tenants could go into this space, maybe even more than we would realize or contemplate here if there's also a restriction imposed by DEP or whoever it is that... right.
where's the laundry in this book? Is there laundry in the units, or is it in laundry?
Each unit.
Each unit. There used to be a laundromat there.
Yeah.
Curious. Any other comments? I don't know where we should leave that table of discussion for next time. Maybe come back to us. I don't know. You say just leave it open.
I as much as I would love to be prescriptive, I always worry about that because none of us know what the future holds. And so if we are going to be somewhat prescriptive and say we would love to limit you to X, Y, Z, I would, in my standpoint, have to have some out to say if that is not the case, they have a workaround, because otherwise we're stuck with a building front that has no one in it. Sure, there'll be people living above it, but it's empty space.
Right.
I'm okay with writing it in such a way that he can have a commercial advantage from the space. I get that. But I also believe that the town should push for a certain kind of activity there.
I'm
and
just not
other
sure.
activity.
But what happens 30 years from now when that activity is not a thing anymore because we all get our coffee delivered to us by robots?
We'll write
I mean, I'm being
document.
hilarious, like joking, but like that's...
We'll come back to the zoning board of appeals and ask to have that changed.
Well, the
That's how-
LDA did spell out, and that was the push from the town. We want to see commercial space on the first floor, and that's how we reacted. We carved out, and it was up to 6,000 square feet was what they told us we had to do. So that's what we've done. We've done 3,850 square feet of commercial space. That was the requirement.
So I read it one time, but I can't remember exactly how does it define commercial space.
It's in your zoning. And again, what Mark has said, that it's
Anything other than
office.
residential
Yeah.
and open space. Right.
Right.
It's not residential.
Yeah, and it's not open space.
Find out at least that the tenant signs, whether it's commercial or residential.
Do you live here? No, sorry.
I'd be more concerned about just leaving it open but excluding certain uses, if anybody would consider that.
Just says up to 6,000 square feet of commercial space, so.
So again, I go back to my initial comment of I don't know what else we need from them for us to decide that, or that's part of our deliberations to say if we're moving forward with this, here's a condition we're going to put on it.
I mean, we can't necessarily put a condition that they're not
No, I mean,
going to be amenable to.
yeah.
Well, my view would be we'd have the discussion, but he participate either right in the middle of our discussion or back.
Well, once we close, right, we're in
Right.
deliberation, so we're,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I would say it's an open issue right now. Keep it open. Maybe when traffic comes back, we'll have.
Hey, but it sounds like we're going to meet again anyway because we've got
We are
stormwater
meeting
and
again.
traffic.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
fine.
but I mean,
Yeah.
we can actually have that conversation when traffic comes,
Mhm.
because traffic might have some recommendations.
So I'm sorry, I agree with that, but I would propose that I would agree to the notion that when traffic comes back and that's resolved, we'll resolve this. We're not going to string them along for months and months.
No, I mean, this is the
Yeah.
first time we're discussing
Yeah.
what type of tenant are they looking at. I mean, we brought it up briefly
Yeah, we brought it
before,
up,
and now we're raising the issue that, the planning board has brought up that they'd rather see something that serves the needs of the neighborhood. I think we have some feedback from some other neighbors that, they envisioned something that was more of a retail nature.
And you've also had some feedback from some of the neighbors that they don't want to see retail. So,
Correct.
just
Yes,
like,
we have.
It goes back to like the
so-
color comments, right? Everyone can have a difference with
Right, right, yeah.
So, I mean, I think that we would be, I'd have to talk to Brian and, but
Yeah.
perhaps a condition that, the board urges the applicant to consider retail to enliven the space or something, but we just can't be committed to something that we ultimately can't find a tenant for, so. but-
Prioritize it, but like,
So it's a
It's
matter
like a statement of intent.
It's
Like,
a matter of
yeah,
how we
yeah.
word that so that you're not bound to an impossible situation and we're not giving up
It's not the
what
one.
would be good for the town to the extent that we can avoid that. I don't know how we work out the language, but I would say,
So
we can't do it right here.
No, we can't.
Everyone go back and think about it. We're coming back together in
Yeah.
a period of
I
time. Let's-
might want to suggest, I don't know, could you suggest something?
Sure, let me give it some thought. Yeah, I will.
Right,
Yeah.
and we could come back. We're not trying to make it miserable or mess up that site.
I understand that's what we're here about.
Yeah, exactly. It's important, I'll just say for 30,000 times, it's a really
Is it an important
It's a
building?
really important site in town, it really is. And what happens there is, reflect a lot too. That's good, I think.
All right, so what else? We got a couple more public comments to read in, or no?
Yeah, we have some, if you want to address, I mean, we can just accept them into the record, or we can discuss them. There's several different letters that got submitted with regard to.
Or do you? No, I don't know.
I would just say, I would just accept them into the record, the public, there's a December 12th letter from Chastain, there's a January 12th comment from Bloomsack, and there's a January 12th comment from Thompson.
I move we accept it.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi, Mark Anderson.
Hi, Dorothy Simboli.
I do. Fine.
Okay.
Any other public comment? Yeah, any other public comment?
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, so long as Attorney Vaughn is here, let's move it. Let's talk about dates first, and then we can open it up to public comment, if that's okay.
Sure.
So, next regular ZBA meeting is tomorrow?
Tomorrow night?
Yep,
Be
okay.
here.
Next special 40B meeting. I think we tentatively had something.
Let's get the calendars out.
Well, first of all, let's talk about the extension.
Yes, yeah.
So what are you willing to give us?
Please negotiate against yourself.
So I have a letter that, Carla had asked that I bring a letter just so it's here. So we were going to suggest continuing right now, the extension of the time frame for the board to close the public hearing was extended until January 31st. So recognizing where we are and we have to tie up a few loose ends here, we were going to suggest extending that to February 27th for the month of February. So we thought that would be appropriate, and it seems like we can finalize what we need to here between what Michelle's doing and the architecture design and what Rich is trying to coordinate with VHB, that we can have that all resolved in the month of February. But,
Yeah, let me tell you what I'm thinking. I'm thinking just hypothetically, we meet, if we can, if people are available, the last week of January 29th, and that will specifically be for, let me see what I had on here.
I think we already had a date.
I thought we had the 28th held.
We had the 28th, but we don't
Yeah.
have a room for the 28th.
Oh, okay.
We don't have this room for the 28th. So, because select board has first dibs on it. So I don't know if anybody's available on the 29th or not.
I'm available on the 29th.
I don't know. I don't have my calendar.
What would your,
Can we be downstairs on the 28th? Because we all already held that, or no? Is Waterfield
What
open?
day of the week is the 28th?
Wednesday.
Wednesday is the 28th, and that's the day we had.
Mark suggestions.
What?
What?
It's a good suggestion. Why do we need to have it?
I could do either day.
I mean, we don't get WinCam down there, but we've done. I think
Yeah,
we've already
that's
had
what I'm
one.
wondering.
We've had one of the meetings down there already for this, if I remember correctly, didn't we?
Did we?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I mean, at least for me, I have something on the 29th. If it's possible to do it the 28th, I mean, that would be preferable. I know that that's what we had talked about, but obviously.
We had held it as with this contingency in mind, so.
And Dorothy, just so I understand, what would be the kind of focus of that meeting in terms of what you're envisioning?
What I was envisioning is, I don't know if engineering is gonna have their situation wrapped up or not, but we've gotten a lot of feedback from design review committee and planning board, and I would like to, I know they're coming in a little late with their additional comments, but I would like to give them an opportunity to look at this latest revision and these architecturals, and then to the extent that they have any design comments, to address them at that meeting and literally finalize design at that stage.
On the 28th? Okay.
And then use February, early February, like I've got some dates here for traffic and stormwater. And then the final meeting would be last week of February, February 25th or 26th, to literally tie up any loose ends.
So you're envisioning 3 meetings? Okay. So I guess for the January 28th, that's 2 weeks from tonight. Who am I looking at here? Michelle, do you feel like that would provide enough time to? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right.
That'll work.
Do we have the downstairs room, or does Carl? No, okay.
Let's see. So we continue to January 28th. And then the next meeting, what do people look at? This would be for,
Stormwater and traffic.
yeah, stormwater and traffic, and taking into account engineering's comments. So either Thursday, February 5th, or Wednesday, February 11th.
The 11th would work. 11th, Rich? Yeah.
I can make it work. I think. Check both calendars.
February 11th.
I'm okay.
So that would be the next tentative meeting, and then the final meeting we would have on either Wednesday, February 25th, or Thursday, February 26th.
I'm going to be out of town the 24th, the last week of February.
So when are you out of town?
Whole last week of February. 23, 24, 25, 26.
We can also, I'll just toss it out there. You can also rehabilitate like Harut did if you missed one meeting, so in case we have
I think
to.
that's probably
Ah.
smart to do here.
So we do the 25th or the 26th, you rehabilitate, and then we do our deliberations in early March.
I think that's fine, yeah.
Would the 25th work? Wednesday?
I can do either of those 2 days, so I don't know if you guys have a preference on your end.
Yeah.
25th?
I think that would
Is that
be
better for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at a minimum, we should hold the 25th, and we're holding the 11th, right? We can't officially book those until we get to past the January 28th meeting.
Correct.
Yeah, all right. Make sure I hold it.
I don't remember.
Okay, Carla's checking on the 28th.
Okay.
We're gonna find out in a second. Just so you know, I won't be here I most likely won't be here on the 11th, so I'll just rehabilitate.
I might have
And
to.
you could be the chair.
I might have to as well,
Oh,
but
you
we'll
might
see.
have to as well.
I can miss what I have, so, but I just gotta
Okay, well, that's gonna be engineering.
take in my daughter to the Celtics game, but I can see if my wife will take her, so.
Okay.
Or if Andrew wants to take her.
You want Andrew's
I'll take one for the team.
Rehabilitate.
It's just the Bulls.
I suggest anyone rehabilitating don't do it the same day as the meeting.
Oh,
It's been a lot
Is that
of
a
this
lot?
today.
Is that a lot of?
Yeah.
A lot of Swanton in Washington in one day.
So.
We're just double checking on a room if we can.
Yeah, we're gonna wait to hear from
Well, why don't we,
Carla.
while she's doing that, we can do public comment.
28th, yep, let's keep going. So we've got the 11th, the 26th, and hopefully the 28th. And, yeah, I guess, and we're gonna accept Attorney Vaughn's proposal to extend to February, what'd we say?
He's already got it drafted and ready.
Yeah, February 27th, which
Yeah.
is the last
The last working day. of
business
February.
day of the month.
Okay.
What?
You wanna make a motion?
I moved to. Do we want to do that now, or do we want to get through? We don't want to do that yet. We want to get through public comment because that closes it, right? Or that official?
No, we adjourn, but that's, oh, yeah, that's fine, do it at the end.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay. I'm going to open it up to public comment now. Does anybody have something? Come on up and introduce yourself.
My name is Roger Baldacci. I live at 7 Governors Ave, so just one street north of the site. I actually want to open with applaud you both from where it's been to where it is now. It's really great. You've come a long way, and I thank you. And I thank the architects for doing such a great job, too. It's really nice. I'm gonna see this every day, so thank you. But I do have a word of caution for both parties, and sometimes the answer is no. You know, I'm in advertising, I'm a creative director, and I deal with a lot of clients and a lot of committees. And, you know, sometimes the answer is no. I push back on the architects a little bit too, because everyone has an opinion. When it comes to design, it's very subjective, so not everyone's opinion is valid. So I just don't want something there that looks like it was designed by a committee. For example, I don't share your views about that first bay coming all the way down. I think that will mess up the clean lines of that corner retail space. And your idea, sir, with the granite over the windows, I think they're fine the way they are. I think the lines are clean. That's just my opinion. Feel free to ignore that as well. As for my questions, the parking lot on the south end, Is that for visitor parking? What is that for?
The spaces off of Washington Street?
Yes.
Yeah, those would be for the commercial space, but they would also be, they'd also be utilized for evening hours for overflow residential parking as well.
Okay, so the parking for residents is where, on Swan Street, that little garage thing?
Yeah, it's all underground off of Swanton through a garage.
And that's only for residents?
That's only for
So my
residents.
question is, on holidays, families coming over, where are the overflow parking spaces going? As it is now, people park on Governor's Ave too, for whatever reason, people on Washington Street park there because in snow removal, whatever. So that's my question, where is the, it's great to count for all the spaces that people live there, but what about the, people who invite guests over? Where do they park? Has that been considered? Okay?
Thank you.
Something to keep in mind. And the other question I had is lighting. Is there any thought to lanterns or something that you see on there, like wrought iron sort of lanterns or something like that?
Yeah, if you want.
Sometimes the answer is no, that's fine. It's just
No, there is a lighting.
There's a whole lighting plan. They are. I'm not going to cover it with justice, but
Okay, that's
they're
fine.
down facing right where they need to be. They are decorative.
That was my question. But again, thank you very much.
Yep.
It's gone a long way. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your comments. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Julie Riemenschneider. I'm the design review committee, and I've also was a longtime member of the permanent shade tree committee, and I missed this. So I wanted, the design review committee would like to review this and have comments. We did get things sent to us from Carla, but we weren't aware of when in the process we should chime in. So I know we're a little bit late, but I just wanted you to know. And I also wanted to find out from you when you need our comments by. And it sounds like, is it back January 24th?
I would say comments is ASAP.
Okay.
And
Are you guys
that
meeting between now and then?
specific-
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Are you guys meeting between now and then?
So we don't have a scheduled meeting between now and then. The scheduled meeting is the first week in February.
Okay.
Okay, well, hopefully you guys, I specifically selected that January
Yeah.
28th date to wrap up things with regard to design.
Okay.
As you can see, we've gone through several iterations. The development team has spent a lot of time and effort.
Yeah, and
You know.
I think our comments, it would have been better if we got them earlier, but we were just unaware of when we should chime in, because we've been getting different plans for a long time.
Well, this most recent set of plans would have been September. And
Yeah.
you're aware of the public hearings, right? So
Yeah,
You can
no,
click on,
I
you
mean,
can
I know, it's on us too, but we, yeah. Anyway, so we'll figure out a way to get comments before January 28th.
yeah, and if you want to come to that meeting, certainly, I don't think we should be really doing much with design on this. I mean, unless Dennis wants to chime in here. I mean, I think we've really taken it to where it needs to be at this point, and I don't want it dragging on in the month of February.
And so I'm a landscape architect, and I just had some comments on the landscape plan, and actually a lot of them were already addressed. But I had a few more, and I probably will just so that you get those sooner than later, I can just send a letter with those.
Yeah, I would definitely get in touch with Carla and
Yeah.
make sure that the development team, and it gets forwarded to the development team so that they can look at those comments and be prepared for the 28th, and we can wrap up that discussion.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much. Dennis, did you have something to say, or are you on your way out?
Well, it's related to what was just said. Has the planning board, have the planning board and the design review committee gotten these memos?
Yeah, because everything's, they should have access, everything is,
It's all put in
So
like
you have-
a link, so we haven't reviewed everything in the folder, so.
It's all out there. We have one other person.
Okay, who else? Yeah, hi.
Hi. Am I supposed to come up?
Yes, come up and give your name and your address, please.
My name is Claudia. I'm a little nervous. I actually have something coming up soon, so I really hope that nothing I say gets used against my own permitting process we have coming up.
What was your name again?
No, I almost gave down my address. I'm Claudia Mitchell. I'm at 18 Chester Street. And I actually messaged a whole bunch of people in our neighborhood too, being like, hey, because you guys know this is here. And given that we have to knock on all of our neighbors' door to take down a tree, I'm glad that there are this many public forums that we get to all show up at and things like that. So I appreciate it, and it is great to see something that happened. I live right across the street from all this. We walk by it all the time. So you guys have done great work, everyone, in moving through something that I think is going to work really well. I think the one thing that kind of has been left, or two things, which is the vehicles and the cars. Chester Street and Florence Street are already a cut-throughs. Marmaduke and Swanson Street, there's already problems with parking. There's already problems with people double parking. We had someone almost ran into Marmaduke recently trying to back out of the corner. And I was curious how you guys came to the conclusion, or what was the model of residents to decide on having one spot per unit, and that was what will be filled, and then how you plan on enforcing that?
I'll try to address it. So we're not going to just have one spot per unit. There's actually going to, the parking ratio comes out to, I think it's 1.33 parking spaces per unit.
Yep.
Every unit is going to get one parking space, and then the remaining 20-something units would go out on a kind of first-come, first-served basis in terms of if folks want to rent an additional space or whatnot. So we are going to have 1.33 parking spaces per unit. The majority of the units are going to be one-bedroom units.
Given that the majority of Winchester, I believe 30% are children, let alone in Winchester. Less than, 70% are married in Winchester. I believe if you go by head of household and married, we have about 80 to 90% are not single people. So the odds that even a third of your building is just single people and not two people living together is incredibly slim.
So you have to address the comments to the board.
Sorry.
You're kind of talking through the board too.
Okay. Sorry. So how do you guys, I guess, better question, how do you guys make sure that there isn't overflow? There isn't parking overnight in Winchester. So if 50% of their units are filled with people that have two cars, and given that this is not a commuting town, so even if you have locals living there, they still need a car because there's no bus system. There's not a fluid thing to easily get around. Where are they going to go? Or are people not allowed to live there and will not be allowed to own cars?
May I? I mean,
Yeah, go ahead. You can answer the question.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is that, folks that are going to be renting there will understand what the parking limitations are. So it might not be the right place for them to rent and spend, a fair amount of money on monthly rent if they don't feel that they have enough parking for themselves. I mean, the site is within walking distance of the town center. It's so folks that want to be able to, not have two automobiles and be able to walk to the train to commute to Boston. I mean, that is an option for them. But, we do feel, and I think we've presented documentation before to the board, that a parking ratio of 1.33 is appropriate for a location like this. I think there's ULI, Urban Land Institute data that we shared that indicates that. I mean, there's a lot of projects in the town center, I think, as the board may be aware, that are being approved for, less than one parking space per unit. So I think we feel like we've struck the right balance. And again, those commercial spaces that are on Washington Street, those 11 spaces, those would be available during off-business hours for utilization by residents as well. So,
and that was actually my other point. And I think maybe this will help some of the how do we control or manage what is being used in those commercial spots is
once again, where do those people park, right? So you need to have enough spots for everyone who's working in those units, who's working there. So you need to have enough spot for the doctor, let's say it's a dentist, or the doctors and the dentist, and for everyone who's coming there. And that's, what is there? 10 people, staff who work in a dentist office, and then you're not even including the people who are coming to use the office. And where are they going to park? Chester Street cannot hold parking, and Florence cannot hold parking. When we have anyone on our street doing construction, it blocks up traffic.
So I'm going to interrupt you for a second. So we have not gotten our final, we haven't gotten the comments back from our engineering department, the town of Winchester's engineering department. There's two different traffic consultants who are doing a whole analysis of the traffic at this corner. They're doing a lot of review, and then that's going to town of Winchester's engineering, and that is going to be addressed on February 11th.
Okay,
So
and,
we're in our public hearing.
and if that comes back being like, we can't hold the influx of a coffee shop, then
Well, I think they'll come back with some recommendations, and they're going to listen to both sides, and they're going to figure out, you know, what's feasible, what's not, potentially not, what's not feasible. But the reality is that, you know, the parking for this building is completely appropriate. I would say it's actually far more generous than some other buildings that have been proposed recently in downtown Winchester that do not have one parking space per unit. This is the reality of development in Winchester. Development is going to happen. We need to create housing. We definitely need affordable housing.
Which
And
I
so,
fully agree with.
you know, we can't necessarily create parking out of thin air.
There's a push and a pull. You can have enough parking spaces to logically solve for everything, and then you have 2 units you can rent.
One of the things
So-
I did want to mention is the developer has also set aside, I think, quite a bit of space for bicycles and in the building, and you know, there is a lot more people that are using bicycles for traffic. This is very close to the, what do they call it, the Greenway?
The bikeway, the Tri-County Bikeway.
The Tri-County
Tri-City
Bikeway.
Bikeway.
So I would imagine that people who are going to be moving to this building would maybe be using their bikes to be doing some commuting.
There's also 2 bus stops. I can't remember now how many bus stops are within walking distance as well. So
That's great. It's
Yeah.
not, you know, I haven't been, as you grew up here, and I've only been here for, oh God, almost 10 years now. And it has been a huge change, especially with COVID. My concern, I guess, is this is one unit, you're not having people work from home necessarily, so you're gonna have people going to work. We don't have, the grocery store's close, it's not that close, so if you have elderly people or people with injuries, so they'll need cars. But you're right, there is a lot more stuff out there and available, so
They also have a delivery entrance, there's a delivery
Yes.
space.
Which is
One at the building, so, you know, people could be having their groceries delivered. I think it's, you know, it's gonna be a fairly quasi-urban type of structure and community living there. And they're gonna have those expectations that it's gonna be more urban, and they're not gonna necessarily gonna have a car. The one thing that I would want to mention to Attorney Vaughn and for your client to consider, and I don't know how this gets communicated to tenants, is there is the no parking rule in Winchester that is, I think, somewhat strictly enforced on that side of town, which is, does anyone know what that is?
It is, you cannot park overnight.
Well,
In
I
the
think
winter.
from November 1?
No, it's year-round. It's not enforced year-round, but it is legally year-round. And
Okay,
you
but
can call your neighbor on, your other neighbor. We called one time to ask, so we moved here, our driveway was filled with a pod, so our neighbor let us park in their front yard, in their driveway. You can call, they don't enforce it over the summer, but if you call and say, my neighbor's car is in the street, I want them to move it, they will go up and down, and they will ticket everyone who's parked in the street. But it is no parking overnight year-round, unless it has been changed in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've been a frequent violator of it, but I live in town as well. So, I mean, I do know that it has been something that's been a bone of contention about just during the winter months when you don't have snow or ice or anything for a month or two, and, you know, why can't you park on the street, right? But, so, again, I don't think that we're reliant upon that parking. I mean, we do have 4 parking spaces right in front of the building that would be utilized for the commercial activity, but I hear you.
Yeah, and right, because if people start parking there, right, it's not strictly enforced now, but if people start parking, I'm sure the people in the neighborhood will start calling every night to get them ticketed, and that's going to actually drain on the police force and everything like that, too, which we don't want. And the other one is the traffic and the cut-through traffic that's going to start happening now through, and it's already gotten worse. We actually had a neighbor, the people who bought his house and are actually here tonight, who had been sort of, I think, 10 years ago trying to get something like a speed bump put on or something to put through Chester Street to slow down cars. And he ended up giving up actually and moving out of town because it didn't go anywhere. But it is only going to get worse, and it is a problem as it is with little kids now. And I know the town has put in some funding and some grants to help and raise some stuff to get for this project to come through, which I'm so grateful for it is happening, that maybe at some point something in the budget needs to be thought into how do we mitigate or manage this traffic problem, which will, without a doubt, happen. Which, I mean, you guys also seem very well aware of that, too. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of what the traffic, they're going to study the impacts of this project. I would say, you know, the onus isn't on the developer, right, to solve for all traffic issues in the surrounding neighborhood, and we wouldn't put that on them, but.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not there. Yeah. Okay, I'm very excited to look forward to that then.
Yep.
It's been, living in Morocco has been quite an exciting time with all the change. Would that actually include the flow, what would happen with the students, whether or not they would be going to Morocco and how that would affect the flow of traffic with all of that? Do you know how wide that one goes? Study? No?
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe it's not part of this purview, but I can say that.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out for it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comments.
Hi, Alex Muzak, from Winchester. I kind of outvote on 12 years. Just, I guess, a quick question regarding traffic and the concern for on-street overflow traffic. Is part of the review involving whether it's engineering or traffic about no parking signs or, you know, restricted access during drive times, morning drive time, afternoon? I know this was brought up at an earlier meeting, and it wasn't necessarily you guys that handle that, but is there someone involved that will be addressing that as part of the review?
I don't.
To address it after the fact.
Yeah.
So, we don't have control over the traffic signs or, you know, changing a street to a one-way or no through traffic during these hours. That's, I believe, DPW.
Yes.
But are they involved in this review, or can we get them involved? Same thing with like the design and the planning board. Hopefully, as a town, we're addressing this as a unified front. Once we build it, we're stuck with it. So.
Yeah, so, I mean, do you...
No, and I appreciate the comment. I know you've made it before about kind of cut through traffic, and no, I mean, I certainly think that that's something that the town can do on its own, independent and regardless of this project. And I think that might be the more appropriate avenue to pursue, is just, you know, having a dialogue with whomever from the town about, you know, this appears to be a concern, what can be done? Should there be, you know, no parking signage that's put up on the street around the intersection, or I don't know, but I don't think it should fall upon us to have to address
I
that.
agree. I don't think
Well,
this
it's
is a
not.
developer issue. I
Yeah.
think this is the town.
It is a town
Right by the
issue.
community and neighbors, overload the streets with traffic and on-street parking and stuff.
Right, and we don't have the authority, I wish we did, but we don't have the authority to say, okay, let's make this street a one-way, or let's...
No,
you know,
do a
how
street.
we're
Get
during
them
these
involved.
hours.
If it is,
I would contact the DPW directly. I would,
you guys won't.
And or the select board, but yeah.
well, and or the select board, yeah.
Yeah, and just, I mean, yeah.
We don't have any authority over
Yeah.
DPW, so we can't necessarily say to them, I mean, I think you're in a better position as a resident living in that area to say, there's this project, we're concerned, you know, here, I've got this brilliant idea, how about this during, you know, and I would copy every single person on the select board on that and see if you could get some progress that way.
Okay.
But ultimately, it's the DPW's decision on what kind of signage they want to put up and where.
Is there any way of the timing to get someone that we need to improve in advance of a project like this?
Well, first of all, you're going to have 2 years. So, I
Yeah,
think
and then I guess my second was just.
you have 2 years to sweep
2
the
years
deal.
to write the letter. Second was, and thank you for bringing up about the concern with retail versus commercial use case. I'll just make a general comment. I mean, the whole intent initially was to build the vibrancy and vitality of the neighborhood with this development. It would be a shame at the end of the day if we had an insurance agency and a law firm in that space. We have an opportunity to do something great, to make it a really nice space that pulls the community in. So I would just, both the developer and the boards, let's push that as much as we can. I think retail is great. I understand there's market conditions that could affect that later, but we should be pushing for that as much as we can. The thought of an ice cream shop or a coffee shop or a convenience store that benefits the neighborhood is much better than an insurance firm, right? So, thank you.
Lawyer, you said lawyer too.
And lawyer.
We got enough. There's enough lawyers out there.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
We're everywhere.
I'll work out of my house.
Can't park on the street though.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Anybody else? Oh, one more.
Great, thanks a lot. Rich Fletcher, I live in 15 Chester Street. So I have zero experience with this process at all, so I don't think this is a comment or a question. And I think maybe it's been partially responded to already. But I promised I would come and sort of add my voice. And then that's just to point out that, as it's been mentioned, like the way that Chester Street is arranged, it is already a through street to that part of town. And I just point out that there are many, many young kids on the street. I'm biased because 3 of them are in my house. But they're out on their bikes, they're out playing soccer, and if it suddenly becomes a kind of access road with cars shooting down, that's actually would be pretty dangerous. And so, I think speed bump has already been mentioned, but I just wanted to sort of add my voice to that being something that I hope we don't have to wait until afterwards and then say, my goodness, all these cars are shooting down at 50 miles an hour because they want to get home, and then try and deal with something, but whether it can be sort of ahead and sort of preempted is
I think I'm pretty sure, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, we've asked, the traffic consultants are looking at kind of those ancillary impacts. The question is that, it won't be, the onus isn't on the Melanson crew and the developers to then solve for it, but at least understand what that impact might be so that you folks could go and say, okay, let's push for that speed bump or no cut-throughs from the hours of 6 to 9 or whatever, something like that.
Sure. Okay. Great, thanks. I just wanted to...
Because it's all in that same area, right?
Thanks very much.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just thinking the last town meeting we had, is anybody else here on town meeting?
No, I haven't.
I think the last town meeting we had, there was a whole bunch of different traffic studies that, different residents had proposed. And one was someplace over on that side of town. It was not Chester and it was not Governor's. But certainly, pushing for getting together as a neighborhood. I mean, we've had 3 different people comment who live on Chester Street tonight. Reach out to your town meeting members that represent your precinct. Put together a group and to really push for a traffic study for your street and see if you can get the town to do something in terms of producing some traffic calming measures for the area. That's typically how that process works.
So, if the people come back who are doing the traffic assessment and say, we don't have the infrastructure to support 60 units, I mean, is that, I guess, a possibility?
Is they don't have...
That we don't have the infrastructure, the roads aren't wide enough to support 64 units coming in.
I think they've already opined that that's not an issue. The things they're looking at are more nuanced than this. This is not the right thing for this space.
Where is that a report we could?
It's all on the public.
I spent a while looking. Okay, so maybe that's the.
So give Carla McGrath a call and just say, where can I find this traffic report? Because we have 2 of them, right? We have.
Yeah, well, we prepared a traffic study, and then there was a peer review done by Tool Design, and a couple of kind of back and forths that emanated from that. I believe Tool, your peer review consultant that reviewed our report, is comfortable with the analysis.
Yes.
So.
Thank you so much. I will reach out to that person and hunt that down. Thank you.
Yeah, you have the two companies you're looking for, Van Ness.
Yes.
And Tool.
Okay.
And then you can also ask Carla, when will engineering department have their comments on all of that? And, follow up and get a comment on what our town engineer says about it all.
Okay, thank you. I really did try to find it, and I got turned around on the internet.
Yeah, that's
so bad.
okay. Carla's willing to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. Anything else?
Not for my seat.
Okay. So let's just go over dates. Tomorrow, we've got January 15th.
Yep.
Our regular ZBA meeting. We're going to meet again on this on January 28th.
Did Carla get back to you?
Yes,
Okay.
in
The Waterfield room?
the Waterfield room. Is that right? Is that the name of
I
it?
think that's the downstairs room.
The
Right?
one in the basement?
Yeah. The basement room. I'm pretty sure it's the Waterfield room.
And February 11th is a tentative date for traffic
civil.
and stormwater.
Yep.
Yes.
And that, I've been told, might also end up being in Waterfield, just tentatively,
Okay.
letting y'all know. And then the last meeting would be February 28th.
25th.
Wednesday.
25th.
I mean, I'm sorry, oh God, February 25th.
Not meeting on a Saturday. I love this board,
Wednesday,
but.
February 25th.
Yep.
And that would most likely be in this room, but we'll formally extend each time. So I need two motions. One to continue the hearing and extend to the 180-day deadline to February 27th.
I move to.
As requested by them.
Yeah, I move to accept Attorney Bond's letter dated January 14th, 2026 to extend petition 40BZ 25-40B-1 to the public hearing for said petition to February 27th, 2026.
I think technically it would be to extend the statutory timeframe for the board to close the public hearing to February. Yeah, but you're continuing this hearing to the January 28th, I guess.
Correct.
Yeah, we're going to do this to extend the window, right?
Right.
And then you were going to do, you wanted that second motion, right? So
Yeah, so do you want to just read it again?
why don't we let the.
Do this one first. So
All right, so I will read more closely here. Attorney Bond, what was the phrase? I want to make sure I get the phraseology right as opposed to extending the public hearing.
Extend the statutory deadline for the board to close the public hearing to February 27, 2026.
Yes.
So moved.
Yes, so moved.
All in favor?
I, Mark Anderson.
I, Dorothy Simboli.
I did Feigenbaum.
And then a second motion to continue the public hearing, the current public hearing for this petition to, whatever we just said, January 28th at 7 p.m. in the Waterfield room downstairs.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi, Mark Anderson.
I, Dorothy Simboli. And a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Hi, Mark Anderson.
I, Dorothy Simboli.
I did Feigenbaum.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.